Welcome back, Caddy Corner, episode 62. I'm Austin.
And I'm Caleb.
And today, we're talking about the most fun thing we've ever talked about probably on this podcast. Burnout.
Boom.
It's inevitable, I think. It happens to everybody.
It does.
I get it real bad about halfway through each semester. Every time. It never fails.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to kind of talk about that. Maybe talk about how it's like affected us. I have some like tips to avoid it, and I'm just going to talk about burnout for the normal amount of time of the podcast. So make sure to rate and review the show. If you're new, this is our main show that comes out every Friday where we kind of give like lifestyle tips and tricks and just talk about how to be the best version of yourself, I guess. So if that interests you, check out the show every week and also listen to this full show. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the show around. Share it if you're on audio, too. And without further ado, Caleb, take it away.
Boom.
Boom.
Burnout. It happens to the best of us all the time.
Every time.
And so, yeah, we got a whole show for you. So if you've been struggling with burnout, then make sure you tune in for the whole thing because you might learn something new. So first off, whenever it comes to burnout, you got to understand what it is. So that is why my first section here is called Understand It. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know? And so, yeah, I have a definition. Burnout is a state of chronic physical and emotional exhaustion, often caused by prolonged stress.
Boom.
And so you take that in for a minute. Do whatever you need to do with that. If you think that's you, then this is a perfect show. Some common causes from the research that I've done and the articles that I've looked at preparing for today's episode. Common causes of burnout. High work demands. If you're working too hard, then you might get burned out. Long hours. That's a big one, I think.
I think that, yeah. Especially for us.
Yeah.
Like student / yeah, I think so too.
Lack of control. I think that's a big one too.
Yeah, for sure.
Whenever you're working hard on something and you feel like
You can't stop till it's done.
or you just feel like you whatever you do is not enough or whatever, you know. And then this says your misalignment between personal values and organizational goals.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that is probably the most common one whenever your personal goals and then the goals of your job like aren't lining up.
Yeah.
Then you're living two separate lives.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
That's just a hard
It's
thing
impossible.
to do.
The only person that can do it is Miley Cyrus.
Literally.
That one show from when we were a kid. Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana. Yeah, I mean, that definition that you said is the exact same one that I have at the top. It's literally screenshotted. It's the same thing. I kind of broke it down, and I just looked at it as, sure, you have all of those big fancy words, but like, what does that actually mean? And the way that I thought that people should kind of interpret what burnout is it's your brain telling you to take a break.
Definitely.
And that's kind of the practical definition of what burnout is. If you're feeling any of the like symptoms, I don't think that that's like the right word, but if you're feeling any of those kinds of symptoms, it's just like take a break. Nobody's telling you can't take a break most of the time. You know what I mean? Because burnout's so inevitable. And like I think that what you just said, like not aligning with your organizational like goals versus your personal goals, that's like 90% of people. Most people aren't actively doing things that they like to do on like even like a weekly basis, let alone like a daily basis.
Right.
That's most people in the world, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that I never even thought about it that way, but I would assume that that's why burnout is like as common as it is.
Yeah.
Because I see it in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an inevitable thing, I think, no matter what you do. You just have to be careful, I think. But yeah, and I mean, I think that some of the symptoms can't be the right word, but I'm going to stick with it.
What I have written down is signs.
Signs is better. I think like some of the signs that happen for me whenever I get burned out is I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
That's like the most clear one for myself is, and like I said, like for me, it happens like about midway through the semester every time. I just like get to a point where I just don't do anything for like a week, which, I mean, whatever.
Right.
It's not the worst thing that could happen, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are worse signs, but that's how it is for me is I just like fully hit the brakes and completely stay stagnant, you know?
Yeah, you just detach.
Yeah, exactly. From everything.
Right.
So you just kind of exist, you know?
Yeah.
But not really doing anything. So I don't know about other signs. That's an interesting section that I'm looking forward to hear more of that you've got on that sheet over there. But
Yeah, so some of the ones that I have written down is fatigue. So, like, you're physically tired, you know. Detachment, which is exactly what you just talked about. Decreased productivity, which I think is probably the most common one.
Yeah.
Because anytime you feel burnt out and you're just like, I don't even want to do it right now, then obviously your productivity levels are going to decrease. And changes in mood or behavior, because burnout is also a stress causer,
thing, yeah.
I would say. And so whenever you're feeling burnt out, and then you say you take a week off and you just don't do anything, then all the stuff that you missed in that last week is going to be there whenever you get back. And so that is I think where the changes in mood and behavior can come in.
Yeah,
because
100%.
you can just get angry at the world.
Well, and then like you come back and you get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then you're in then you're not really burned out, then you're angry, like you said. Like you're just angry at the situation. You know what I mean? And that's not a good situation to be in either, obviously. What do you think like your most common, like whenever you get burned out, how does that, like what do you do? Like what's your reaction to that?
I try and find something new.
Yeah.
And I think that is an unhealthy thing, because I've gotten burned out on a lot of hobbies, I guess, and every time I get burned out on an old hobby, then I just pick up a new hobby that I like for a little while, and then I'll
inevitably burn out on that.
And then I'll go back to the last hobby, but then now I have 6 different hobbies that take up so much time. You know, like a lot of people have only one of the hobbies that I do, and I have all of them, you know. And so it's a lot of time and a lot of money that I spend on everything. But I think it's just because whenever I get burnt out on one thing, then I just
want to pivot.
Yeah, I just go with something new, and then I end up liking that a lot, and then I'll end up going back to the one that I was burnt out on like a few months ago, because now I'm interested in it again because I haven't done it in so long, you know. And so it's just a cycle.
Yeah, it's a revolving door of I don't know, even like the word, like just new things.
Just things.
Yeah.
And so I think that is what I usually do, because whenever it comes to school though, I think what I do is I just take my hands off.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what it is for me too.
Whenever it comes to school, but whenever it comes to pretty much everything else, then I'll just
pick something else up.
Yeah. And like even at work too, like I wouldn't consider you get tired of doing something for so long in one workday burnout, but you know,
kind of is though. It's like a microcosm, you know. It's like
if you're like, for my personal example, if I'm at work and I have these, I mean, I'll give you my exact example today. I was sanding these tables down, and so I'm sanding all day, and then I get tired of sanding. So then I go find something else to do, you know. But then whenever I go do something else, then like eventually I'm still going to have to sand those tables. But I'm just not going to do it right now. Yeah. I'm going to find something else that needs to be done and do that for a little while, so that because I got tired of sanding the tables. I get that. You know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I do. I take my hands off and I just go find something different.
Yeah, which I think is fair enough. That's just like not at all how my brain works. My brain is the other way around. Like a one thing at a time kind of a brain.
Yeah.
But there's no better or worse, I don't think. I think it's both kind of the same difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%, I think. I mean, who knows? It's super case by case. But that's the thing that's interesting is like everybody's experience with burnout is going to be like a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like fundamentally, I think. There was one, can you read me your signs again? Because there's one of them that I thought was really interesting, and I forgot about it.
Yeah. Fatigue, detachment, decreased productivity.
It's that one. So decreased productivity, I think, is interesting too, because I think that is something, like you said, it was like probably the most common one. It definitely is, because that is something that you even see like just over like a week. Like think about going to school and then like Friday comes around.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything on Friday.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're not really doing anything on Monday either, because it's day one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your most productive days are going to be those first 3 days, if you're like, if that's how you live your life or whatever. And so obviously, like if you do like a big project, like if you work on something for 2 weeks, obviously from start to finish, you're going to like go whoop, and then flatline and then back down towards the end of it. Like that's just kind of what it's going to be, you know? And I think that that's just interesting because that is burnout so obviously like in your everyday week, you know? I get burned out of my routine all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to just spice it up, you know, do something interesting.
Yeah, keep it fresh and new.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that one was just something that was just like the point that I had in my brain that I like was thinking about. Like that's like everybody feels that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't be firing at like 100% productivity levels 7 days a week.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And if you do 100% productivity for 7 days, that 8th day you're gonna die. You know what I mean? Eventually you're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Right.
Exactly. I think that the avoiding part of this is very important.
Yeah.
Because I don't get burned out a ton. Like I said, it is like once a semester, but I only have semesters for like effectively 2/3 of the year or whatever the case may be. So I think that avoiding it is, I mean, easier said than done. You know, anybody can say that they're going to avoid burnout, but that doesn't really mean anything. But these are just the 3 things that I think are important. And the first one is like limiting doing things that you hate, which is like sounds obvious, but I think that like the direction that it kind of goes is like your sanding example. You don't hate sanding, but you just got sick of it.
Yeah.
And so you pivoted for a second. And the way that I have it written down is like make them easier. So if there's something that you have like in your day-to-day job that you hate doing, maybe take a day and sit down and think about it and think about how you can make it easier. Like maybe it's a tag team job. Maybe you can do it a different way and it's easier and less awful to do, you know? I mean, I don't know everybody's life on, you know, through the camera here, but just limit doing things that you hate, and I think that you burn out less by virtue of that. Because if you do enough things every day that you hate, you're going to burn out super fast because you don't like anything that you're doing, which is kind of like that organizational thing that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is that puts people in a weird kind of situation because they always say that if you love what you do for work, that you don't work a day in your life, you know, and I think that's true to an extent.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people don't work jobs that they love, you know.
I think most people don't.
And so that kind of puts you in a hard spot because, I mean, I think that any job that you could work, you could find something about the job that you enjoy. You have to, or else you wouldn't be able to do it for so long, you know. But there are obviously going to be things that you definitely don't like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, for one, I would say don't settle on a job just because of like the money or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that could definitely help with burnout too. Like if you find something that you really love to do, like figure out how you can do it for a career. If you're young, like if you're our age, if you're 50 years old and you're going to retire in a couple years, then I would say just stick it out.
Or if you have like a family and a lot rides on your shoulders, you know.
Yeah, I would say just stick it out and yeah, try and do what Austin said.
Yeah,
but I would think where the problem with that, like doing what you hate or doing something that you hate, I think where that problem occurs is whenever people settle for jobs.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
And so I think we live in such a unique world, a unique time with the internet and everything, where you've said this example before, but if you're sick at rollerblading, then you can turn that into a business and you can make that your job
somehow,
some way, you know? And so I think that if you have the opportunity and the time, which everyone does, then you should definitely try that first.
Yeah. And another side of it that I think is important too is like a lot of people too do things that they hate when there's like a way to kind of navigate it in another way. And so what I have written down is paying for convenience. And the example that the reason why I wrote it down, the way my brain was working is like they have like the like express toll that you can take on the interstate that you have to pay whatever it is a month to take. But if you take it, then you don't have the traffic and you get to wherever you're going faster. Yeah. And if you hate driving, if traffic makes you angry, then maybe it's worth paying whatever that monthly fee is to like avoid that every day. You commute to work 5 days a week. You drive in traffic every day. That makes you really mad. So you're starting your day off and you're ending your day mad, no matter what you do. You know what I mean? That's when everybody goes to work and it's whenever everybody comes back. So I think paying for convenience is something that's really important that people don't really think of so much, because you could definitely like look at taking those like express lane tolls or whatever they're considered as just like a stupid thing. Like this is just the government trying to like rip money out of my pockets.
Yeah, make money.
But if that, I mean, that is true in some sense, but also if that convenience improves the quality of your life at all, then it's a W. So I think paying for convenience is something that everybody should do. But that's a good way I think you can avoid burnout too, just because it helps you navigate situations that you hate.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. In my prevention section, my first point is emphasize the importance of setting boundaries at work and then at home, like with your work life and your personal life, and create a healthy balance in your life. We have a whole episode on balance like 3 weeks ago or
something. It's recent-ish.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly when it was, but we have one. So if you want to learn more about that and you want to hear us talk about that, go check it out. It'll be right down there if you scroll down a little bit. But creating a balance is so important whenever it comes to burnout, because whenever you put so much time and so much effort into one aspect of your life, then that is whenever the burnout occurs. You know, it occurs whenever you put so much work and like so much time that you feel like you can't put any more effort and any more time in. So then it's just, now you're in this spot where it's like, I can't go anymore. You know, I'm burnt out.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And so whenever you can create a healthy balance in your life between work and your personal life, then that's whenever you can go the smoothest route, you know, because then you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm putting so much time and effort into my work, so now I don't have any time at home, or I have so much that I have to do at home that I can't focus on what I have to do at work. Like, whenever you can figure that out, then you're smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So they say.
My second point is exactly that, pretty much, which is pacing yourself.
Yeah.
And I took this from a student angle because this is what I always do. Is I just try and front load as much as possible. So like when papers get assigned, I do them as fast as I can usually, just so that way they're done and it's like off of the to-do list, as they say.
Yeah.
But I think that where a lot of people that are in like our same age demo doing similar stuff to us is like they'll procrastinate. Everything will build up. They'll have 2 weeks to do it or 8 days or whatever the case may be, and then you do all of that work in those 8 days, and then you're burned out after that. And it wasn't worth not doing anything for 2.5 weeks to have to do it all in 72 hours and then be very angry for the rest of the week. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think by not procrastinating and just pacing yourself, like spread it out over a month or whatever the case may be, I think that that's just like the easiest and most obvious way to not burn out super fast and super easily.
Yeah.
And every other point that I have for pacing yourself, you already crushed. So
yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
You know,
and everything is a marathon, not a sprint. Very, very seldom times do you have to like throw all schedule to the wind and like go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those opportunities arise, and you need to take those chances or whatever the case may be. But not every day you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just pace yourself.
Yeah. I think another thing that you have to realize is the significance of like self-care activities,
Yeah.
So whether that be exercise for some people or meditation for some people or whatever hobbies you may have, that those things are at the end of the day what keep you sane. If you didn't have the things that you did for fun and all you did was work, then you would
blow up.
Exactly. I don't think you realize that. I don't think you realize how much of an impact the things that you do for fun have on you. If you you wouldn't realize how big of an impact they have on you if you didn't have them.
Yeah, 100%.
Until you didn't have them, you wouldn't know that they impacted you that much.
Yeah.
And so I think just realizing how significant those are and really making time for the things that you enjoy, then that can help you out a ton.
Yeah, I think that. Like you just said, like you don't know how much your like things that you do for fun impacts you until they're gone. Like look at athletes, like eventually those NFL quarterbacks aren't going to be able to play NFL football anymore. But typically athletes pivot to golf because that's a sport that you can kind of play for a long period of time. Not to make this a golf podcast, but like they still are getting that what they get from sports, like competition and physical activity and being outside and being out there with your boys, blah, 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 blah. They get all of those things from a different sport as they kind of age. That's just very common. Like the golf example is just a really common one.
Yeah.
But that's a situation where it's similar. Like if all of your like happiness comes from your job, eventually you're going to retire from your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not even necessarily because you want to, but eventually you're going to get to a point where you're forced to retire because you're 70 and there's somebody that's 25 that can do your job better than you know, because they're 25 and not 70, you know?
Right.
So, and that just is kind of inevitable too. So you need to have those things where you can kind of get some level of happiness back outside of, I always say that you need to do something like for your like physical and then for your mental, and then something that's completely disconnected from both of those things. And that is like your fun thing that you do whenever you don't have to do anything else ever. That's the way that I usually think about it, but who knows? My last point for avoiding burnout is building breaks into your routine. So whatever that means for you, it's super case by case. You know, everybody's routine is different. Some people maybe like to take like a couple of, you know, maybe like an hour a day, you know, keeps the doctor away or something like that type of strategy. I don't know. I usually just take Sundays completely off, and I just exist as a human on Sundays, and whatever I end up doing is whatever I end up doing, and that's it. That's what it is for me. A lot of the time, if I want to like work on the podcast, then I can, but I don't have to, you know, like there's no pressure. I can do kind of whatever I want. That's the way that I usually do it. But like I said, everybody's different. Maybe for you, like a break in your routine looks like working for 3 weeks and then taking a week off. Maybe, you know, who knows? Everybody's super case by case. But I think if you build those breaks into your routine, it just kind of allows you to get into the routine of taking breaks and like disconnecting and then not getting burnt out kind of as a byproduct of that. So yeah, it's super important.
Yeah. I think that is super important. I think what you have to focus on doing whenever you do that though is don't fill your break day with like things that are
actively making you burn out.
Yeah, that are considered work, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you, for your example, if you have Sunday is just your day, you know, then try not to fill that with all the things that you hate doing.
Yeah.
Like don't clean the house on Sunday.
Exactly.
You know, and like maybe it's like don't open
who knows?
Yeah, you know, like don't open your laptop.
Yeah, exactly.
On Sunday or whatever. If
or
that's,
like,
if that's what that means.
Don't open your laptop on Sundays until 4 p.m.
Right.
You know, something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like there is some level of like self-awareness that has to go behind it too. You know?
Yeah.
And it is kind of rocky in the beginning. I think that like just building like a strong routine, especially that's kind of, it doesn't have to be necessarily built around like the break. But maybe starting whenever you're starting out, maybe it is built around the break, you know? Like, because if you think about it, in the other direction, if I'm only taking off Sundays, that means I have 6 days of the week to get everything done. That's so many days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but where my brain would go if I dedicated a day that was just like a me day.
You put it all off until then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would be like, if I had something to do and it was 9:30 p.m. And I had something to do, like I had something to get done, but it didn't have to be done until Sunday at 11:59.
Got it. Yeah.
Then I'd be like, I don't have to do it right now.
Yeah.
Because I have all day Sunday.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And that is what I would end up doing. Or what I would end up doing is I'd be like, okay, it's Sunday. I have the whole day. And I have all this stuff I have to get done at the house or whatever.
Right.
Or I'm gonna go to the driving range, and then after I hit the driving range, I'm gonna go play golf, and then after that, I'm gonna go to the grocery store, and like I would just end up filling it up.
Yeah.
Because it's just like I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know.
I typically still fill it up, but that's because I don't like doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But everybody's different. Like, what does it look like for you? Like, do you have breaks built into your routine, and do they work for you? And
yeah, I mean, it's usually like the afternoons are my like
take
break.
it off.
Yeah,
sure.
So usually at 5:30,
you're done.
I'm hanging it up.
I get that.
You know,
I wish I could do that.
But then like not really. But usually like 5:30, I hang up work, and then it's like the gym, which I don't really consider work because I just enjoy going to work out, and then it's like now I got to eat food or whatever. So usually that's how it goes. Usually the afternoons is whenever I hang up the work. obviously, like, sometimes it'll be like 10:30 at night, and I'd be like, I remember what I got to do.
Yeah,
and then now I got to do it
Yeah.
because I'm also one of the guys who, if I end something, then I can't, or if I have something on my mind, then I can't sleep until I like get it off my mind.
That's how it is
And
for me too.
usually, what it takes to get it off my mind is to just finish it. And so sometimes I'm up till midnight because I'm just doing whatever came to my brain while I was brushing my teeth or whatever.
That'll happen.
And so
Yeah, that happens to everybody.
yeah, I think that's mostly a dude thing though, because
Yeah, we've talked about that before off the show.
yeah, from the chicks that I know, they don't do that, and they think I'm weird for that. But it's like I really can't sleep until it's done.
I usually, when it happens to me, a lot of the time, I have like what I think in my brain is like a home run idea, and I know I'll forget it if I don't just do it right then. You know what I mean? So I either have to like go and archive that idea somewhere.
Yeah, like write it down.
Which is going to require me to get up anyways.
Yeah.
So at that point, might as well just do it.
Yeah.
You know, next thing you know, it's 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there plenty of times.
Of course. Yeah. It'll happen.
It will.
It'll happen to the best of us. But yeah, build. I think I mean it's worked for me really well. Just having like a set break in my routine where I don't have to do anything if I don't want to. If I do want to, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's just like a day where there's no pressure. That's how I treat it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it works for me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my last kind of section here is we talked about you can understand it. You know what it is now. You know what burnout is. You know the signs that can indicate if you are getting burnout, and then you have the prevention. So how to not have it, you know. But now I'm going to talk about what you do if you have it. If you're burnout, how do you pivot? How do you cope with that? How can you recover from that? And so that's what I'm going to talk about for a little bit. The first thing that I have here is the importance of seeking help. You know, so whether that be from like your friends or like your family, those are good people to talk to if you're feeling like down and out and burnout, because your friends and family will always listen, you know, and they always have good insight because there's a good chance that somebody that you know has gone through the same thing as you, and they can give you a little bit of insight, you know. But if they're not doing it for you, then you can reach professional help such as therapists or counselors if you're into that kind of thing. I know that it's real hard for dudes to like go see a therapist because dudes think mental health is not a thing, but
come on,
it is.
Yeah.
And so like don't be afraid to see a therapist or like a counselor because their job is to help people.
And everybody gets bummed out.
Yeah, all the time. And like burnout too. You know, like even the therapists. So they can, they I'm sure they know how to talk to you about that.
Exactly.
Also, and then the next thing is whenever you get burnout, then start prioritizing tasks, and really focus on your time management skills, and then also take regular breaks is what I have written down, because whenever you can prioritize your tasks and then know like exactly what you have to get done and then what can wait, then you're not like overwhelming yourself with all these tasks that don't have to be done until the end of the week, but it's Wednesday and you're like, I can't fall asleep until it's done. You know, whenever you have set deadlines for whenever things have to be done, then it's much easier to like set them out on a schedule.
100%.
So I think that is super important. And then also, if you're working or like if you go to college, then considering like a new school or like a new career maybe can help if your burnout is to that level where it's like you don't want to go to work anymore because you have done your job so much that you just get sick over the idea of your job.
Yeah.
And like maybe it's time to find a new job.
Or like if you go to college at Arizona State in the desert and you're tired of the heat, then maybe it's time to pivot.
Yeah, maybe it's time to find a new school.
Yeah.
You know? Or like if you're really tired of what you're studying, maybe it's time to just like change your major.
Yeah.
You know, because these are all things that can happen. You know, whenever you get a job, or like whenever you pick a major, or whenever you pick a college, then you're not locked down to that. You know, if you're 20 like we are, then you have so much time. Maybe if you're gifted with a lot of time, you know, to just like
try everything.
Yeah, just like pivot, you know, because there's
no pressure.
There's no pressure at all, you know, and I think that a lot of people can feel like they're locked down with a career choice or choice of major or choice of school, that they forget that they can just change what they do.
I think people also feel this like this crazy push to like succeed when they're super young. Yeah. You know? Which is like it obviously is real. We live in the world that we live in, you know. But like it's rare, man. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen for everybody. Right. You know what I mean? It can't happen for everybody. Yeah. But it's like I think that a lot of people feel pressure from that because it's like people would think like, oh, like transferring schools is gonna stop me from graduating on time, blah 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 blah. If it takes you an extra semester, it's not that big of a deal, you know? Right. That's an extra however long a semester is, like 18 weeks or something like that, you know? Yeah. 18 weeks of your hopefully long life, you know what I mean? Right. So, yeah, I think that's something that happens too. That'll make you burn out too. I think this isn't something, I don't know, there's no scientific backing to this, but I think if you are always looking at like the top of the food chain, like if you're like in our position and we're trying to be, and like we're going to be like Mr. Beast in 18 months. And then you can get to 18 months, and then, you know, we're just talking into microphones. Right. Then, like, that'll make you burn out, too, because it'll make you think that you didn't do anything over the course of however long, you know? Like, you have to have expectations that make sense, too. Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, I think we talked about this on, probably the third episode of the podcast, I think. And it was, like, the stepping stones. Yeah. You know, like, just take life in stepping stones, you know, one stepping stone at a time. Because whenever you step back and you look at the whole path that you've created, then like at the end of your life, whenever you go back to where you are right now, you look at your whole life and you're like, dang, I never would have thought that I would be doing that for a career, or I never would have thought that I would have done all these things or whatever, you know. Then you look at that and you're like, man, whenever I was in this spot right now, I had no idea that this is what the end of the road was going to look like for me, you know? And so you have to live your life like you don't know what the end is going to be. You have the picture that you've painted for yourself that you think it should look like, but I promise you that's not going to happen. No shot. You know, so Caleb was going to be a nurse.
Exactly. You know,
2 years ago.
Exactly. 2 years ago, I was going to go to nursing school. Yeah. You know, and like I was gonna get my master's in nursing, and I was gonna be a nurse practitioner. That was the picture that I had painted for me, you know. And lo and behold, look where I am now, 2 years later, and like now I have this new picture of what my life is gonna look like in 50 years. But I know that is not what it's gonna look like either, you know. So it's just you have to just take it one step at a time, because whenever you look at the big picture, then life looks so scary, so big, and like there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But whenever you look at the next step as like, I don't even know, like I'm going to write this paper tonight. Like that's the next step. That's not that scary. No. You know? And so that's the way that I try and look at life, and from the short amount of years that I've been alive so far, it's
worked out pretty good.
Yeah. And so I feel like I should give away some of the insight that I have taken in.
That's what we're here to do.
That's why
100 and something episodes.
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's why we do what we do. Burnout, episode 62.
I know.
Burnout, episode 62. This podcast will never be burnt out because we've been doing it for however long. I don't know how long.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Over 1 year.
Yeah. 1 year and 10 weeks. 62. 52 would be a year. Yeah. So good job, me. But not really, because this is like fairly stacked in advance. Anyway, though, regardless, we haven't burnt out yet was the point that I was getting to.
Right.
So, shout out to us. So, if this is your first episode, thanks so much for listening. This was pretty good, I feel like. Not a bad show.
Yeah.
One of our better ones, I feel like. And we actually have never talked about this topic before on the show. So this is like a completely fresh episode of this podcast. So congratulations to us.
Yeah, if
for
you're
that.
burnout to listening to this podcast,
this is a
then
little-
this is a good
It's a
one
little,
for you.
little spice action.
Yeah, because we pull the science in there and
Facts.
and all
Facts.
the stuff.
We usually don't pull the science in there.
Yeah, because we don't really believe in science that much.
Bunch of wizardry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bunch of.
Somebody made up burnout.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
It's a bunch of malarkey. But if this is your first episode for real, make sure to rate and review the show. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, then I guess we'll never see you again. So
Well, you can rate it a 1 star,
well, don't do that. That'll just make us sad.
but
No need. That definitely
mean-
is bad for the vibes. It's
I
gotta
mean,
be.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I want the people to be honest with me.
That's a good point. If you hate the show, just DM us. Don't rate it 1 star.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
DM me something real mean.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure to rate and review the show. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We do this kind of show every Friday, and we've never missed a week, so shout out to us. We also do a different show called Caddy Corner After Hours that is audio only, and it is much more laid-back, kickback vibes, and we talk about whatever we want to talk about for as long as we want to talk about it.
Facts.
I'm Austin. He's Caleb. We will see you all next week. Peace.
Peace.